Today, we're going to check out some self-care exercises for the elbow, for range of motion, for less pain, more ease, to be able to utilize this joint effectively. So isometric exercises are used in many different kinds of modalities. And an isometric is when we give our bodies a little bit of resistance and keep the muscle the same length. So we're keeping the angle of the joint the same. An isotonic is when we keep the pressure, keep the resistance, but the joint is changing its length. So in either way, right? So we're going to play with that today with the movement of our elbow. So let's start by just moving the elbow in a flexion and extension way. You could do this standing or sitting. You could do this with your elbow resting on a countertop or a table, whatever feels good. Check it out. And listen for yourself of where in that positioning, where in that movement, does it feel the most happy? Is it the most comfortable? And it could be a lot of different places. So let's just choose one. It might be that like when you come in here, you start to feel a little bit of resistance. So it may feel more comfortable to start in that extended position. So whichever direction you prefer, we're going to start in the happy place. That's very important to remember. Start happy. And from here, we're going to resist the movement coming in. So again, I can choose, and I'm listening to my own joint. Do I like to keep the resistance the same, or do I like to move with the resistance? And what I'm listening for is what is happening in that joint and how I can create more ease. So you're really just listening for what feels the best for your body, and you're following that listening. A lot of times the isometric, where there's no movement, is really working the clarity of the joint. And the isotonic is when the body is working to relieve maybe the muscular tension around the area. So you might prefer one over the other. For this technique, we're going to use about 10% or less of your actual force. So we're not muscling it through, we're not giving it everything we've got, because when we do that, we override the body's responsive and reflexive nature to be able to self-correct. So we want to be about 10% or less of your force with about 8 to 10 seconds. And then we're going to follow through. We're going to passively move in the direction we were pushing. So let's go. Here we are. An isometric or an isotonic. I'm going into the direction towards my fingertips, towards my shoulder, pushing gently against my other opposite hand. And then after about 8 or 10 seconds, I'm going to passively complete the movement by bringing the arm in to where it was trying to push to. And then I might listen. There might be a little movement that I want to do after, or simply let it be, and then recheck. And notice if there's any more glide, any more ease of movement in that joint. Maybe some of the crinklies or cracklies are subsided a bit. What do you notice? And now let's do the same thing with a little bit of rotational pattern. So I'm taking my palm in and out to create a little bit of rotation at the elbow. So check it out in your own body. What feels the best? Where do you feel like, oh, when I go that way, I feel like I'm efforting a little bit, but here feels like there's a little more glide. So for me, I'm going to start in this position. And I'm going to use my opposite hand to kind of come up by my wrist. So my hand is trying to rotate the other direction, and this hand is going to keep it there. So here we go, just gently using that 10% of force or less, rotating the opposite direction. Usually you want to go about halfway or so in that 10 seconds, depending on if it's an isometric or an isotonic. Otherwise, you'll just stay in one place and then follow through passively. And then I might recheck. Gosh, it feels like I have a lot more range after doing that little bit with the elbow. You can do that in any position. So it might be that you're playing with your elbow and the movements and you decide, gosh, it really feels comfortable kind of in here. Well, just choose a direction, any which way, to push out of. So I'm going to hold it here and I'm gently going to push in this direction because that feels like I can really connect to that joint. And I'm going to use an isometric, so I'm going to give it not so much increase in the joint space, and then passively bring it through in the direction I was pushing. So play with that. You might want to recheck those elbows and just see if there's any difference between the two, and then repeat a few of those exercises on the opposite side. I hope that helps. Enjoy your nice, freely moving elbows. Thanks.